Welcome to the Monday, August the 7th meeting of the Montpelier Design Review Committee. I will let committee members and staff introduce themselves.
Martha Smirsky, member.
Is Ben there?
He is there. He's
Sorry, it didn't work. Sometimes when I hit spacebar, I can talk, but Benjamin Cheney, member.
Meredith Crandall, staff.
And Stephen Everett, member. At this point, we will let Meredith review the remote meeting procedures and process.
All right. So can everybody see my screen? It's a little slideshow. All right. So for anyone viewing this meeting tonight via the ORCA Media live stream, you can participate in tonight's Design Review Committee meeting via the Zoom platform through either video or telephone access options. You can type, and there's Eric. You can type this into your web browser and it should bring you directly into the meeting. Alternatively, you can call into this phone number 929-205-6099 and when prompted put in this meeting ID. If you are trying to get into the Zoom meeting and it doesn't let you in directly and asks for meeting ID, it's the same number. If anyone is trying to access the meeting and is having problems, please email me at mcrandall@montpelier-vt.org. And I will be monitoring that email throughout tonight's meeting. For those attending via Zoom, turning on your video is optional. For everyone attending, please do your best to keep your microphone on mute when you're not speaking. This will reduce background noise, especially because we're all on headphones and everything now, so it's picking up paper noises, all of that stuff. If you've called in over your phone, you can press *6 to mute or unmute if you don't see the mute buttons on your Zoom display. Please reserve the chat function in Zoom for troubleshooting or logistics questions that I can answer. Any questions or comments about a particular item on the agenda should be dealt with verbally during the meeting, so please raise your hand either physically or by using the raise hand toolbar button on your Zoom toolbar. And then once you've been called upon, you can state your name and then what you're asking. And so far today, we just have applicants on. I don't have just general members of the public. Please note that because this meeting is remote only, if the public is trying to gain access and can't, it will need to be continued to a time and place certain. I will hand the meeting back over to the chair.
Okay, unless anybody has anything else to add at this point, we can go to the first applicant for 89 Main Street, owner Doug Nettie, applicant Jager Nettie. Go ahead and describe your application for us.
Steve, and thanks for having me back. So as you guys know, we went before you once before. We're installing a new exterior entrance along East Main Street, or East Main Street, sorry. And we were planning on putting a window in where a door was, and decided that aesthetically it would look far superior after testing it with the window just built with brick. So I'm coming before you again to ask for that change. I don't know if I'm allowed to share a screen or should share the screen.
You can share your screen if you want, or I can share the documents.
If you have it, that'd be great.
Yeah, I do. I even have pulled it up.
Thank you.
Right. So this is the diagram of what's going on. So here's the new entrance space, and instead of trying to put a window where this door is now, it's showing brick. So this is it looks like it'll match in with everything else there.
It'll match perfectly, and it just it keeps a uniform look throughout all the windows on that side of the building, and it's just a better design, we feel, and so does our architect, and hope you guys agree.
Were you able to match the bricks exactly?
Yep, we have existing brick we saved from the entrance, so we plan on just reusing the brick there.
He's done a very good job using the brick that he has around your entrance.
Yes.
So I would approve this right away. I think it'll look nice.
I'm good with it.
Thank you,
Okay.
guys.
And by the way, Eric Gilbertson has joined the meeting. So what I can do at this point is read down through the criteria sheet. And again, this is a very small change to an existing application. So for all projects, exterior design and materials of new construction or alterations of existing buildings shall be consistent and compatible with the characteristics of the existing building or other properties in the district. Additions and alterations to non-historic not apply here. So the alteration in this building is acceptable. Existing buildings shall be recognized as a physical record of their time, place, and use. Acceptable. Compatibility of relationship between width and height of facades, as well as relationship of width to height of windows and doors. Acceptable. The visual patterns established by the alterations of solid walls and openings, windows and doors in the facade of a building shall create a rhythm. That's acceptable. Architectural features, including but not limited to cornices, windows, shutters, fan lights, entablature, trim, and other forms of molding or character-defining detailing prevailing on the existing building shall be considered in the alteration of a building. That's acceptable. All in favor of the application, speak your names.
This is Martha. I say yes.
Ben,
Eric says yes.
Yeah. Ben, yes.
Great,
Eric?
thank you, guys.
I heard you, Eric. He was a yes.
Oh, okay. And Steve says yes. So it passes 4-0. And describe the next step, Meredith.
Yes. So in this instance, because there were no tweaks or anything, I'm not going to require that we also get the applicant's signatures on the recommendation form.
Okay.
So Jager, once I've got the recommendation form from Steve, however he gets that to me, because he's got to sign it, we'll get the permit issued. Given the difficulties with mail in Montpelier, do you want us to send you an email when it's ready so you can just come pick it up?
That works for us. Thanks.
Okay, sounds great. I think that's probably going to be our standard operating procedure for anything that is happening in the near term these days.
Thank you very much for coming and good luck with your project. It's looking really nice so far.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
The next application is for 1 Granite Street. Owner applicant Dan Clark. Review new siding, windows, canopy roofs, new exterior stairs, and lighting. Is Dan here?
Sorry, yep, did that whole thing about the mute button. Hi, everybody.
Oh, okay. Hi. Go ahead and describe your project for us, Dan.
All right. So on the big building, there's 2 buildings on this property. There's the large building that kind of locally we know of as the clothespin factory, and then there's the small building out by the river. On the large building, we're looking to be re-siding the exterior, new windows on the exterior. There are a few canopy roofs over some of the entries that we're interested in building, and the lighting that goes along with those new rooflets over the entry doors. That kind of summarizes the large building. And on the small building out back by the river, we're looking to make some changes to that as well. That include, well, I assume you were looking at the packet of materials, but that includes converting some of that, what is storage space now, into some kind of cleaned up storage space, and also Meredith, am I right in bringing this one up during this part of the meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
okay.
the giving them the concept of what you're doing makes sense.
Okay. And so that small building will become it's already storage. It was storage office. Some decades ago, it was office and apartment. And we'll be looking to kind of turn that part of that building back into an apartment. So it'll be maybe a third-ish apartment and 2/3 storage, somewhere in there.
Dan, what is the eventual use of the big building?
Yeah, same as what it's been used as for a number of years. My business is housed on the first floor. We'll be expanding into some additional space on the first floor. The there's no change of use in the upper levels. They've been rented out for years and will continue to be rented out. So yeah, there's no change of use happening for the interior of the space at this point.
Okay.
Were you adding any additional lighting to the exterior?
Yeah, Steve, there's on those canopy roofs, we'd like to be installing some recessed lighting. Somewhere in the materials packet is a spec sheet on that light fixture. So the lighting that we'd be adding are the recessed lighting in the canopy roofs and some new lighting over the entry door to our offices. There's a couple of gooseneck fixtures that we'd be looking to install over that entry door facing Stonecutter's Way.
Okay.
And Dan, your intent is to strip all the siding, put in all new windows, insulate, and put up new clapboards?
You got it, Ben. Exactly.
Wow, that's an ambitious job. Good for you.
Yep.
How are you gonna get the cool weathered paint job back?
Say it again.
I just love the paint job on that building as it's like worn, but I don't know how you would ever get that back.
No, that siding has run its course. It's time for some new material there.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But it would be a wooden clapboard per the notes in there.
Yep, we'd be
With
using a half by 5 clapboard.
Yeah, so it'll keep the same pretty small reveal on the clapboards.
Yeah, we'll be maintaining that 3-inch plus or minus reveal on the clapboard.
Yeah, great. And keeping the trim details around the windows and corner boards and kind of all that the same.
Yep, you got it. It's gonna read like a freshened up version of the original thing. We don't all of the trim details. We have no plans to change the trim details. The change, that we're the appreciable change. Excuse me. The appreciable change are those canopy roofs. But all the siding and the trim, it's all going to read just like original details.
Yep. And you're going to keep the dust blower part of the old dust system on the roof there.
Yes.
Cool. It's not attached to anything, correct?
No, it's firmly.
Yeah. But as far as a machinery doing
Oh.
No, I don't think it's going to fall off.
Yeah, no, it is firmly attached to the building, but it is not operational at all. It's not attached to any equipment.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're going to keep it because I think that's important.
Agreed.
So,
Meredith, could you put up drawings of the canopies?
Yep, we'll do. All right, so this is the proposed So here's that proposed east elevation. So this is the view from Stonecutters Way, right? Yes, view from
Yep.
Stonecutters Way.
Yep.
So there's this canopy here, and there's the recess lighting will be under it, so you can't actually like see those fixtures from here. And then this is where am I? That's existing east, that's existing north. Sorry, proposed east. Did I lose something here? Oh, so this is the existing east. So there's no canopy here. So there's going to be added here. And then existing north right now, or proposed north so there's the flat canopy here, but here's more canopy here.
That on the left,
Right?
Meredith, that's existing over
Oh,
there.
this one's existing. So
Yep,
you're doing one that's sort of going to match it, but at a slightly different
Yeah, there's
height.
in this two-dimensional image, it's not so clear, but on that left, that's actually kind of set back. On the right, it's actually kind of projecting out towards the viewer some. So,
Yep. And this will be along Granite Street.
Nope, that's
Right?
in the alley facing the lumberyard.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. I
Does
should
that
just let
mean,
you
Dan,
describe it.
Does that mean you're taking down that like kind of awkward I-beam sort of roof structure?
Yeah, it is. That's got to go.
Yeah. Yep. It looks a little scabbed onto the building and may not be all that functional.
It was certainly not safe to use at this point. It's been kind of decoupled from the building over the years as other structural work has happened. It's not safe as it currently is.
Yep.
Yeah,
But
there
will you still keep the kind of big slidey barn door?
Yeah. That's there's that existing area actually is wood siding right now, and the sliding door and the hardware is all right there. And yeah, we'll be putting new siding up there and plan to keep the sliding door.
Yep. Great.
Dan, this is Eric. I'm assuming that you're going to use matching windows.
Matching windows throughout the building?
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. I'm not sure if the Marvin window cut sheet made it in. There, we had an original packet of materials delivered into Meredith's office before the flood, and then, that disappeared. And for some reason, I'm thinking that when we resubmitted the paperwork, Meredith, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe we forgot to include the Marvin windows cut sheet for the replacement windows.
Oh, goodness. I don't even know anymore.
Yeah,
Sorry. Life has been all over the place.
No, of course. And it just dawned on me this
see.
morning that I think I forgot to include that in round 2 of the paperwork. But to answer that question, yes, all of the windows will be Marvin windows that are all of the same variety.
We both missed that.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Are they? I think you sent me the cut sheet, and I think it was. Were they all the 6/6?
They're going to be whatever they are now. Yeah, we're not changing the window sizes. Yeah, we're not changing the window sizes of anything. So whatever the cut of the window is now, 6/6, that's what they will be.
Yeah.
Are they going to be true divided lights?
Say it again.
True dividers in there?
No, they will be a simulated divided light with spacer bar.
Is this the integrity or the ultimate?
It is the
line?
So it's the ultimate.
Okay. The ultimate profiles seem to have the best profile matching historic characteristics. So
Right. Yeah, that's my experience as well, Steve. The
Anybody
one
have
piece
any-
of fenestration that kind of I am asking for a change on is that entry door that you can see, at the top of that little set of stairs right there. Thank you. Yep. That is presently maybe I think it's a half light door, and yeah, that's going to be a new door that, will read a little differently than the existing does.
Is that like a 2/3 light?
I would call it a 3/4 light, but yeah,
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the
And-
existing.
Dan, you're proposing to change the direction of the stairs?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm showing existing here in the drawing.
Yeah, the original stairs that we have now, back when this was, the factory that it was, it made sense to orient those stairs towards the back of the building where the offices were. Now it doesn't really make sense to have them oriented that way. And so for users of the upper levels, I'm thinking to flip that around as people will be, accessing it from Stonecutter's Wayside.
Are the stairs going to be wooden or concrete?
Concrete.
I like your proposal for the clothespin factory as a sign there, and I like
Yeah.
it in the band of your canopy roof as you have it laid out there. Can you talk a little bit more about what your sort of like thoughts are as how that's being mounted or what it?
Yeah, so
is?
we're actually not, that's represented here, and we'll be, I think, but Meredith, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe, is that a different permit than we're asking for today?
Sorry, wanted to make sure I was unmuted. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to come back because we don't have the sign application.
Yeah.
As this part for this, it kind of slipped under the radar that the sign came in and was on here. So we're going to do that separately. But I mean, I think that I think because we don't have the exact height for the letters, all of those details on this.
Yeah.
But this is sort of, we can talk about it a little bit if the designer, if the committee members have some thoughts, or even if they just say, yes, we really like it. But then I think we need to come back for this. And then you and I need to talk about the sizing for your different directory signage on the building to figure out which things actually fit within, need sign permits versus which fit under exemptions.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So to speak to the first question, as far as the clothespin factory sign, there's a similarly styled sign around the front that will be the sign for my business. And like as Meredith said, we don't have those details worked out, but the gist of it is it's going to be an individual cutout letter. Ben, maybe did you make the sign for that condos building over on, is it like, I don't know,
Foundry,
Franklin
yeah.
Street, the Foundry? Yeah.
Yeah, I made that sign.
Something of that type of, something like that, but I can't speak to the details too much yet, other than they're going to be individual letters that are kind of stood off the building some amount. Is the general kind of design scheme there. Details,
which I think is really beautiful. I also really like that you don't have a sign band behind it, that the clapboards read continuously. I realize that makes it a lot harder to actually install the words, but I think it has a way more sort of like clean cachet and sort of like reference to the historical building without, because they wouldn't have had some big like sign
honestly,
band there.
I was inspired by a conversation I had with somebody who worked at the clothespin factory years ago, and I spent a ridiculous amount of time looking for photographs of it, and I couldn't find it. But there was, apparently, I was told by this older fellow that there used to be the national clothespin painted right on the building. I couldn't find any signs of it, or any pictures of it, but it was kind of my nod to that.
I agree with Ben. I like it also, Dan.
Thank you.
Meredith, is that something, based on the opinion so far, is that something that could be administratively approved?
Oh, Meredith, you're muted.
Yep. Theoretically, yes, as long as you didn't feel like you needed to look at the letter height. because that's something that we don't have, you know, the current regulations have limits on the total square footage of signage, but not letter height.
Oh.
And so that's something that right now, usually the design review committee speaks to. So that's sort of a judgment call item that I don't know if you guys want to waive or not.
Dan, what were you thinking of in terms of letter height? 12, 15 inches, somewhere
Oh,
in
actually,
there?
I was going to say I hadn't thought that far ahead yet, but I actually did think that far ahead. And unfortunately, I don't have those emails up in front of me, but our designer who mocked up a couple different versions of it. And I had some immediate reactions of that is too big or that is too small. And in those email correspondences, yeah, I could track down what is being represented here. Is it, I think 12 inches is the number there, Steve, but I don't
Okay.
remember off the top of my head, and I wasn't really prepared to be thinking about that tonight. But yeah, we mocked up a couple different versions of it, and I think we did end up on a 12-inch height.
Okay.
Was that for
Meredith?
this one as well as the one on the front? Was Clark Construction a little smaller, or is that
It
the
is a
same?
little smaller. Yeah. Yeah.
Meredith, why don't we say you could administratively approve it as long as the height doesn't exceed the 12 inches?
That sounds great. If you want to do
Cool.
that, and then if the signage comes back bigger than that, then we'll send it back to DRC, but otherwise that's dealt with. That sounds great.
That's great. Thank you.
Dan, a number of historic districts use a formula of 1 inch in sign height for every 10 feet of distance that the sign can be read. So at 12 inches, you're looking at 120 feet readability.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yep. Yep. Okay.
So again, if it's no taller than 12 inches, it can just be administratively approved. As well as, I'm assuming, if you're doing a directory sign, that would be to one side or other of the doorway, probably the side where the stairs are coming up.
Exactly. Yes.
And the same thing, as long as it meets the requirements for size, I'm fine with Meredith administratively approving it.
Great. Thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions, comments, or suggestions?
Nope.
If not,
Nope.
okay. If not, I can read through the criteria that applies to the application. Exterior design and materials of new construction or alterations of existing buildings shall be consistent and compatible with the characteristics of the existing building or other properties in the district. The removal of historic materials or alteration of features and spaces that characterize an historic property shall be avoided. Character defining features, finishes, and construction techniques or examples of craftsmanship that characterize an historic building shall be preserved. Deteriorated character defining features shall be repaired, or in this case of the siding, replaced. Where the severity of deterioration requires replacement of a character defining feature, the new feature shall be replaced in kind. Any treatments that cause damage to historic materials, including but not limited to chemical or physical treatments, shall not be approved. In this case, this application is acceptable. Existing buildings shall be recognized as a physical record of their time, place, and use. Any new development shall be differentiated from the old, but shall respect and be compatible with the massing, size, scale, architectural features, detailing, and overall character of the primary historic building and nearby historic properties. Acceptable. Location and appearance of all utilities, mechanical equipment, trash, storage, and fencing shall be sited to minimize adverse visual impact or adequately and appropriately screened from public view. Acceptable. Proportion, compatibility of relationship between width and height of facades, as well as relationship of width to height of windows and doors. Acceptable. The visual patterns established by the alterations of solid walls and openings, windows and doors in the facade of the building shall be create a rhythm acceptable. Architectural features, including but not limited to cornices, windows, shutters, fan lights, entablature, trim, and other forms of molding or character defining detailing prevailing on the existing building shall be considered in the alteration of the building acceptable. Roof drainage systems shall not hide or obscure architectural character defining features and shall run adjacent to building corners when possible. Acceptable. Outdoor lighting fixtures. The structural design of outdoor lighting fixtures shall be compatible with the architectural design and function of the building and compatible with the neighborhood. Acceptable. Windows and doors on historic structures. Character defining windows and door patterns, placement, sizes, proportions, and original features such as trim, sash, and molding shall be preserved to the extent possible. When preservation is not possible, such character defining windows and doors must be rehabilitated or replaced in kind. Windows and doors that are not character defining may be replaced, but such replacements must be compatible with the historic building style, materials, and architectural features. Acceptable. Porches and stairs on historic structures. The location of porches, ramps, and stairs shall be placed in a manner that does not impact or undermine the original and significant ornamentation or detailing of the existing building. Stairs, ramps, and porches shall employ suitable detailing to connect and be compatible with the historic and important design features of existing buildings and new construction. Stairs and ramps shall be designed in a manner with details and materials that provide the most sensitive and compatible structure and that fits the building design and layout. Acceptable. All in favor of the application as proposed, speak your names.
Eric,
This is Martha. This is Martha. I say yes.
Ben says yes.
And Steve says yes. I think it's unanimous. Approved.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for your work. I appreciate it as always.
So
Thank you.
Dan,
It'll be interesting to see the progress on this building as it changes. Best of
Yeah,
luck.
agreed. I'm looking
Okay.
forward to it.
It's such a
Thank
huge
you.
job.
Yeah. We're gonna bite it off in some chunks. It won't all happen at once, but it'll happen.
Well, good. Thank you for coming.
All
I
right.
think it's a tremendous project, and I appreciate the quality and care that you're taking with it, Dan. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
good night, Dan. You'll hear from me via email.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Moving on to the next application for 149 Main Street. Owner Fisher OM House, applicant Wood and Wood Signs, Trish Peppa and Sparky Potter. Go ahead and describe your sign for us.
Okay, well, the best way to describe the sign is to probably show the sign. I know that Meredith has seen this, but basically it's this structure. It's a freestanding structure, and maybe Meredith, there you go. Freestanding structure, we've shown the location. We've met with the client several times to determine the best lay of the land. We were certainly use the Inn at Montpelier sign, which we had done many, many years ago as sort of a benchmark for setbacks and how to do it in style. So we're trying to fit into the neighborhood as well as fit into the architecture of the building. There's a lot of white in the building, and there's a logo that's been existing for a long time with the Gary folks. So we just kind of readapted the color scheme to fit that particular landscape in that building. So we've done work for this client previously, and so we've adapted similar methods of fabrication that we did many years ago at Westview. But we were careful about trying to figure out the square footage and the setback. So I was on site a couple times to measure and stake and make sure that the location was appropriate and accurate. So I think there will be no lighting for this sign. The client did not want any, so it's fairly uncomplicated with regards to its application, and but I think it's we drove by it several times, did a full-size mock-up for the client. So I think it's been well vetted with them, and I'm hoping that you folks agree. This sign was designed by the architect and was passed on to us. We took the same font that was used on the freestanding sign and applied it to this location. The architect on this particular case preferred a sort of an brushed aluminum letter per their taste and their sense of aesthetics. So we went along with that and just sort of presented pretty much what they presented to us, except with a different font. And there's no lighting on this sign either. I do have some physical samples, and I have color samples here that I can flash and show to you if that would be helpful.
With the freestanding sign, Sparky, I saw the similarity between this sign and the one at the Montpelier. It looks like they'd be very compatible.
Yeah, that sign we did at least 25 years ago. But I think that the client also appreciated kind of the airiness of it. It's not a strong post and beam system, but kind of a lightweight look with kind of an airy property to it. So it doesn't take up a lot of visual space on the lawn. But the lettering, we vetted the lettering to make sure that they're readable on the drive-by. So I think that was the prerequisite, is to make it readable, and I think it's there. I think it's subtle, but people will not drive by it without recognize it. And I think the client also dearly loves their logo, so we just had to find a way to make it fit into the sign, but also be kind of pleasing to look at. So I think that's been achieved. And the colors that they have chosen, they rethought the whole process with their internal team to make sure that these colors did not compete with the building. So that was the early drawings were very different than this. And I did bring color chips, Martha, if you feel the need to look at them. They're called out in the drawing, but if you feel the need to visually see what they are, I could hold them up and show them to you.
I'm good. This is a nice representation.
Okay. Regarding materials, the posts are wood, they're pressure treated wood, and the background is 2-inch thick sign foam. When you get paint on it, you really can't tell whether it's a wooden sign or other materials. So I realized that historically that material never even existed. So if need be, we can certainly go back to making it a wood sign. And the inn at Montpelier was a wood sign, so that may be something that is worth your consideration. Basically, we found out over the years that sign foam is more of a kind of a rugged outdoor material in terms of not warping and not kind of going through checking processes that our wooden signs have gone through. So it was that transition has been slowly happening because it's just more stable and holds paint great and doesn't have some issues that wood will have.
I'm going to stop sharing unless somebody has questions and wants to look closer, just because I know everybody also has these. But that way we can also sort of see each other a little bit better.
Do any committee members have any comments, questions, or suggestions regarding the sign?
Looks like a thoughtful project to me. I have no concerns.
Yes. Okay. Based
I'm
on that,
good with
I can go through and read the criteria for signs in the design control district. The size, location, design, color, texture, lighting, and material of all exterior signs within the design review district shall be compatible with the buildings and structures of the site and surrounding properties acceptable. Where appropriate, signing shall respect the original sign placement and sign bans on historic structures. In this location, these signs are acceptable. It is recommended that sign placement be centered over building entries. And again, in this location, the signs are acceptable. Sign installation shall minimize damage to character defining materials on the building. Acceptable. The only comment and suggestion is that attachments to the building, if it's a masonry face, be in the mortar joints, but otherwise that's fine. In masonry buildings, again, fasteners to be in the mortar joints. Sign design, color, and typography shall respect historic precedents where appropriate and shall be the appropriate scale for existing and new buildings. Acceptable. Sign support structures shall be compatible with the building architecture and must not be overly complex or dominant in and of themselves. Acceptable. All in favor of the application, speak your names.
Eric, yes.
This is Martha. I say yes.
Ben says yes.
And Steve says yes. So it's approved unanimously. And
Thank you so
Meredith,
much.
do you want to describe the next step?
Yeah, so it's, I mean, this one, again, I'll get the sign form from Steve. There's no, strange recommendations or anything on here. So we'll get that permit issued. And then you actually, I think on your application, have to have the permits sent to Wood and Wood Signs, not to Gary Home. So we'll probably mail those out for you.
Great.
And then you can handle getting that blue notice card posted on the site around, all of their construction equipment.
Okay, we'll find an appropriate place.
Awesome.
Great. Thanks, Meredith. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming, and the signs look great. So good luck with your project, and thanks
Thank you.
again.
I know they'll be very pleased to hear this. Thank you so much.
Okay.
See you.
Thanks, Sparky.
Bye-bye. See you, Meredith.
We can move on to the next application for 8-20 Langdon Street. Owner applicant Lucky Boardman, reviewing window replacement of all windows except storefronts.
Good morning or evening.
Go ahead and describe your application for us.
So what we're looking to do is do an exact replacement window that of the current design and look that's on the building, using the Firelight windows that we had sent the specs to. So they're just simply replacement windows that go into the existing frame windows.
Lucky, it looks like you're showing a double hung, basically 1/1 instead of a 2/1.
That's just their, I don't know what, so my representative sent it. That's just their cut sheet or template of a universal window that they sent. It's the exact match. So the top has the grid. Yeah, I don't know. I just sent Bill a message on that because it doesn't show the top grid either. But he said that's just a universal conceptual quote photo that they use. But they are exact replacements. So it does have that single top grid of the window and everything as well.
As a true divided light or or a simulated divided light?
It's a simulated, I believe.
These windows are all on the second and third floor,
That's correct. Yep.
and the first floor remains the same as it is now.
Yeah, Lucky, I think you've been cutting in and out. You might want to repeat your answer to that one.
Oh, sorry. Yes, it's just the second and third floor of the building. The storefront and the original storefront windows stay the same.
You're not doing the main and State Street sides of the building?
We're doing the entire building.
Just the second and third floor. The first floor is going to stay as is.
That's correct.
What's the manufacturer of the window?
It's a Farley.
And what's the material of the window?
It's in there. Let me look this up real quick. The material of the window. I believe it's frame. I want to say it's a. Sorry, I'm just trying to read through this. It might be, I think it's just a fiberglass window still.
I'm looking on that RK Miles cut sheet. I'm not finding the material either, Lucky.
Yeah, I don't see it listed here, but I know it's not wood. I'm assuming it's just a fiberglass window.
And then I guess my next question is what the commercial brown is, and I'm assuming that simulated divided light on the top sash is also a commercial brown.
Yeah, they suggested picking that because the building that TD Bank is in, those windows and those replacement windows are those to match the street. So it could be white if chosen, but he suggested the commercial brown to match the windows across the street. Because these are like, I don't know if they've been painted, but they're just lighter windows and they have a commercial brown looking storm window to cover them. So you can't really tell on half of them what they are from the exterior.
Yeah, it looks like there's some of them have a storm window on the second floor and maybe a few on the third.
Right.
This is Eric. I think you should do a scraping on the windows and match the original color.
To paint them?
I don't care how you do it, just match the original color and not just arbitrarily pick a color.
Okay, well, I mean, it's to the existing color of what's already on the street. That's why we went with the commercial brown, because it more matches the street's existing colors.
Now I have a question for you. According to the information on Farley windows, the 4000 series is a vinyl window.
Okay.
The
There
vinyl
appears
is vinyl as opposed to fiberglass or a clad over wood sash. Has any thought been given to using that window in an historic building?
Well, I know when they came to do the walkthrough, RK Miles, this is was based on availability and sizing. So this is what they suggested based on that, due to the issues of access to everything nowadays. So this was their best option for replacement that we could access and get.
Did you explore at all rehabilitating the existing windows?
Yes, it's really costly, time consuming, and it still allows me just a single pane windows. So in that building, to give the tenants proper heating and comfort and make the buildings affordable, an insulation R value and the thermal barrier is pretty crucial just due to the sheer size of the building. So this is our best option to keep a affordable apartment or housing.
What kind of condition are the existing windows in?
Oh, they're in poor original condition. A lot of them are just painted in or non-functioning. The weights are broken. Some of the glasses are broken. So, the functionality is a big issue, as well as the thermal loss from the building envelope itself. So that would not be easy.
Vinyl is not a terribly durable material. It's subject to UV deterioration and all of that. Did you explore one of the other kind of the clad windows that Steve mentioned?
Yep. Again, to be able to access the windows and get something that's similar in view and look, this is what RK Miles suggested for their availability and something that would, match the current design. It's difficult to get anything nowadays, let alone 100 windows that match.
I think with vinyl, you're probably going to be replacing the windows again in 20 or 25 years. That's part of a problem with an historic building.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure.
We just have to decide if the committee is willing to go along with vinyl windows. We've never approved vinyl windows in an historic building prior.
Well, it is on Langdon Street, so I don't know if the historic value is the same because it's just in the district. It's actually not a historic building on a registry or anything.
I think it actually is, Lucky. I think.
I believe they looked it up and they could not locate that on a historic registry. It was just in the district. Because I know my neighbor is looking to do the same conversation previously.
Well, I can answer that question in just a minute.
Excellent.
And always feel free to call me. So yeah, it is building number 186 on Montpelier's National Register of Historic Places National District Registry. So I can send you separately an email with the description of that building as it's described on the National Register. But it is still on there, considered a contributing structure, as are all of the buildings on Langdon Street. So if you have a neighbor who is saying that their building isn't on the register as an individual building, have them call me or email me, and I can give them the information.
Excellent, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It makes no difference as far as the National Register is concerned, whether a building is individually listed or part of a district.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that that detail was clear. But yeah, for design review purposes, it doesn't matter.
I'm also inclined to agree with Eric regarding the color of the window, Lucky, in that like I'm looking at the white versus the brown storm window, because I do feel like you're still going to see some of the white trim of the existing window frame. Even when you pull that window out, I think it will look a little hodgepodge to go from brown to white versus having the whole window be more white, which feels like the original color based on how often people get to the third floor of these buildings to paint the exterior of these windows.
Yeah, I would actually prefer the white, but due to the building across the street and the existing storms, that's what we were trying to match is the current layout. But white would be much easier for me, so I would happily do that.
Yeah, the bill matching the building across the street. You want to match as closely as you can what you've got in your building, not necessarily the building across the street.
Yeah, it was just a little bit of a mix due to those storms added, so we didn't really. It was difficult to tie in what one. Yes.
I think those storms look terrible in comparison to like the windows that don't have the storms, and being able to keep kind of one more unified color versus that sort of transition would be
Oh, absolutely.
much preferred.
Perfect.
It's easy enough to find a space where you can tell whether somewhere in that window where it's protected, you'll find be able to scrape down to the original color. And I would just that's what I would certainly recommend.
Okay, yeah. I mean, they behind those storms, I believe they're all the whiter color anyway, so I think that would be perfect.
And then back to Steve's question regarding the vinyl. I don't know what sort of precedent we may or may not be setting. I agree that vinyl is not a lower quality window over the long haul, and but I also hear Lucky's concerns about availability. So I don't really know how to move forward with that.
Yeah, I mean, we researched obviously everything, traditional, but the whole world's trying to find the same kind of materials, and the concept is great, but we just can't. There's no access to it, especially with the volume. If it was 6 or something, that'd be one thing, but to have a functional building that serves the needs of the tenants, and with that volume, this is what they came up. I mean, there's 84 windows on the outside of that building, so just to come up with that is a task in itself.
Do you know what color options there are with the Farley?
I think there's a couple of them. There's like a gray or a slate. There's the brown, there's the white, and there's another one. It's on the website. I could try and pull up, but nothing that would be closer than the white. There's an ivory, a mocha. Oh yeah, that would be the options.
What was the average cost of the vinyl windows?
I want to say it was
Not the installation, just the material, the window itself.
It was about $700, I believe, on an average of them.
I'm not finding the 4000 series on their website. I'm finding the 6500 and the 3000 series.
Well, in the brochure I have, it's on page 9, 4000.
Okay. Yeah.
It shows it's for 3.5 inch.
Let's see what I can find here. Okay. Well, I'm finding it as a Home Depot product, but not on the Farley website.
I don't know. It's RK Miles suppliers Farley's
Yep.
series
Yep.
is indicate. Yeah, so I can definitely use the white, which that would be nice. And
I would do what Eric suggested and scrape down in one of the original sash to come up with a color, whether it's black, brown, white, whatever the original is, right down to the wood, and find out what that original color was. And then, because the different series of Farley windows, they have a number of colors to suit the building.
okay. We'll take a sample of it and see if I can get it matched at like Sherwin-Williams or something, and then see if I can transport that into the Farley collection.
So just a reminder to everybody that under the regulations, the color isn't really something we regulate anymore, but it's definitely an option and a suggestion that the committee can make. I just can't make it a condition of the permit.
Thank you. I would naturally want to get it as close as possible. Yes.
Yeah, no, that would be great. That's definitely a lovely thing to be able to do. I just wanted to make sure that if you weren't able to, or something happened, that the committee wasn't wondering why I
Meredith,
wasn't stepping up.
do we, and I should know this, but do we have jurisdiction over material use of the windows in this situation?
Yeah,
Vinyl
materials or something, especially here where the original is being replaced with something that doesn't exactly match it. That is something you do have, you know, if you and the applicant disagree, it's got to go up to the development review board.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, per my earlier comment, I mean, it's vinyl is unfortunately the accessible material.
And depending on the series and the Farley series, they actually offer, again, depending on the series, they offer many, many different colors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everything from white, black, brown, different shades of brown, off-whites, everything in between.
Yep. Yeah, I will definitely take a sample of that color and see what we can match to the closest for the exterior for sure.
And
Steve,
how did the rest of the committee committee members feel about the vinyl windows.
Steve, I don't have access to the information. Does Farley make one that is a vinyl clad?
It's a vinyl, pure vinyl product. I've never seen anything other than their vinyl windows.
Okay.
I wonder if it's appropriate to table the application at this point, and in regard to the color of the windows, and I'm prepared to vote no on vinyl windows.
So my question is, if other windows aren't accessible, then do we leave the units with unfunctional windows? And that's my dilemma. I mean, you know, a broken window I can replace per se as far as a pane, but an unfunctional window, I don't know how that works.
Steve, you're more familiar with Marvin and all of those windows, but they're all going to be custom made anyway.
No, I know that, but the material is the issue. If you can't get anything beyond vinyl per se, as I can't, because that's what I'm told, then we wouldn't replace the windows. Is that the option? So they'd be left with unfunctionable windows?
Frankly, I have a hard time. It might take you some time to get a better window. Quality is an issue with historic preservation. And Steve, you probably have a better handle on this than I do, but I can't believe that you can't get a better quality window. It might not be this year, it might be next year.
I don't know. I haven't gotten any recently, but I actually got some Marvin Integrities a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. And they were in the same price range. And that was a fiberglass clad wood window. It was a wood frame with a cladding on the exterior. And that has been universally my favorite window, but I haven't checked availability recently, but
What was that manufacturer, Steve?
Marvin.
Mm-hmm.
The 5 brands that are, depending on availability at any given point in time, the 5 brands that make really good quality windows are Marvin, Pella, Anderson, Harvey, and then there's another brand that RK Miles sells, because I've accessed information on those through Scott Wilson, who actually goes out and measures, and he knows as much about windows as everybody, at least the ones that RK Miles has access to.
Yeah, I believe Bill and Scott actually came out and did my measurements on site. So all these windows have already been measured and priced and selected. So that's Scott and Bill Morvan is who came out and did all the legwork.
I too have worked with Scott over the years and is certainly a very knowledgeable person about Windows and has been doing it forever. I also have a hard time believing that Marvin somehow doesn't have Windows, but I would trust Scott if that's what Scott says.
Yeah, that's what I'm told. I mean, it's not that I can't get, say, 4, but the problem is my availability to do the building. I mean, if you rent the equipment, you shut the building down, you start putting people in, you got heating systems, and Vermont's a short time. I mean, if it takes 14 weeks to get 9 of them and I have to keep running back and forth, their concern and my concern is just, as everybody, timing. But I will happily circle back, and I could even get maybe a document stating such to present.
Well,
So obviously our options are either to approve it, not approve it, or table it until the next meeting to see if there are any other options. And again, we've never approved vinyl windows in a historic building. So again, that's what we have to decide.
I'm prepared to make a motion to table it.
I would agree with that as well.
I'll move that we table the application pending further research on the availability of windows and research on the color.
Okay, in the meantime, like if you could take the some of the colors down to the wood to see what lived there in the past, that would be helpful to know.
Yeah, absolutely. We will work right on that.
Okay, so there's a motion to table it.
I'll
Do
second
I
the
hear
motion.
Did you second the motion?
I did.
Okay, all in favor of tabling the application, speak your names.
Eric said
Martha,
table, yes.
Steve,
Yep, I'm in
Steve
favor
votes
of,
in favor of tabling as well. So the application is tabled. And till a little further research is done, and then we'll come back and address it again.
so the next meeting, Lucky, is August 21st. So 2 weeks from today.
I will actually not be in town. That's my wedding anniversary week.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Is there somebody else who'd be able to present the
Yeah.
information then?
Let me work on that, but let's preemptively place that and then I'll work on that.
Okay.
Okay,
Because yeah, if not, then it would be the Tuesday after Labor Day would be the next meeting. We'd be able to have you in.
Yep. Tag the 21st and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Sounds
Okay.
good.
thank you very much for your cooperation. We appreciate it. And again, this is sort of a tipping point because it's something we've never approved before. So
Yeah.
we're certainly happy to take a look at all the options. And again, thank you for your patience.
Okay. Have a good evening.
yes,
Thank
Lucky,
you.
I want to reiterate appreciation for your patience and willing to do this work. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We just want to do it right and we'll see what we can do.
Yep.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Has everyone had a chance to take a look at the minutes from June the 5th?
yes, and I'll make a motion to accept them the way they are.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor of the minutes from June the 5th, speak your name.
Martha,
Eric,
Ben,
And Steve. So the minutes are approved.
Steve, I might have missed it, but I don't think that we approved the agenda. And even though we've just gone through it,
Well, sorry.
so I'm going to make a motion to approve the
skip.
agenda.
So in retrospect, since we've already gone through it, I guess it's approved, but we can do it formally in retrospect again.
Okay, well, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor of the agenda, speak your names.
Martha,
Ben,
And
Ben.
Steve. Sorry,
Uh,
skipped right over that one.
we're all trying to get used to this again.
Yes.
yes, yes, I
On
noticed we keep interrupting each other. We can't help it.
On that subject, is there any,
Thanks a lot for coming to meeting. I'm sure you're really busy.
Yes, it's been a challenging few weeks.
Meredith, what is the status of City Hall and any sort of random pie in the sky projections of when might be back there?
No idea.
Yeah.
Because they're going to have to that's part of the community discussion, right? Is what is the basement of City Hall going to be used for? how is City Hall reshuffled? Because there's a bunch of offices that cannot go down in there again. You had Community Justice Center, Department of Public Works, Planning Department, the Teen Center. All of those spaces were in the basement. They all got destroyed. Everything is
Yeah.
gutted down to the metal, supports. So we don't know. But I do have a development review board meeting in 12 minutes. So
Okay.
no,
Well, get
no,
off.
no. Thank you,
Well-
everybody. And I will see you in 2 weeks.
Okay,
Okay,
we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Martha,
Eric.
Ben.
And Steve, meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Thank
Okay.
you. Have a good night.
Adios.
have a good 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.